Took a long time to get here. Go ahead, punch it in.
Whoa.
Welcome to the bunker.
I'm double tasking. Now I can't find my fucking
Wait, so
glasses.
you use paper?
Yeah.
I bet he's got a fax.
You got a fax, don't you, buddy?
Yeah, I've got a like a 4-in-1. It's probably about let's see.
No. What he's saying is you actually use all of the 4s in the one.
Yeah. Well, I don't have the fax hooked up anymore because nobody uses it. But I have to scan something and send it in. So.
You know, you'd be surprised at how many medical facilities still use fax.
Oh yeah.
And anytime I hear a business say, "Yeah, you can fax it," I immediately think, I don't want to do business with these people. That's
No, that's right. That's right. Because I remember my doctor last year was saying, "Yeah, have them fax it over to me." Yeah, I remember that. That's right.
Now, I do know a lot of older doctors say that because that's what they were used to, and some of them actually mean email. But for some reason, and I haven't quite figured out why, unless it's just something a little bit more secure. A lot of medical facilities and medical care systems still use fax, and that's oftentimes the only way they accept stuff.
I wonder if that's because of it has the original document. It's the original document is right there instead of it being like in a digital form.
It might be.
It's an actual picture of the actual document. I don't know. Maybe.
Might be. I don't know.
Well, I have to sign this paper. So.
Yeah, but why not scan it? Well, you can scan it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's a W-9. So.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to physically sign it.
Yeah, but I don't have it. I mean, I don't really have a use for it now because I'm not really in any kind of a system. But I know that on my computer, I can just hit signature and my signature will pop up and I can put it anywhere on a document.
Mm.
Oh, shit. You're
Just
technically advanced.
Just paste on any document. So you bring up the W-2 and it says, it'll have like sign here and my computer knows. I click on it and signatures will come up that I have done. And then I can just grab one, pull it, slide it down, drop it in.
Oh, wow.
I know PDFs now, you can create a digital signature, kind of like the ones that because when we in the military, when you sign something using your what we call a CAT card or your ID card, it creates this digital signature with some codes and some stuff like that. You can do the same thing now in Windows using your computer credentials.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Way. Yeah. All right. So what are we discussing today?
Well, obviously not cool shit. We're talking about nerdy stuff right now.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think we're talking about prepper rookie mistakes. That's what we are talking about.
That is correct. First year or more, but first year prepper rookie mistakes. We've all done them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about. So who would like to jump in? Go ahead.
Well, shit, I made a rookie mistake just the other day. So with the gasoline. So
Nerd.
You might continue making them,
Trust me, you do. Because when you're caught in a massive hurricane for some reason in the mountains and you don't have anything.
Those aren't rookie mistakes.
That was definitely a rookie mistake.
Yeah, it was a rookie type mistake, but not the type we're talking about.
Well, that's true. Okay.
We're talking about prepper rookie mistakes. Like, I spent every last dime that I have on an underground bunker, like that kind of thing, like.
Nice.
And it floods. I cut corners and didn't waterproof it, and now it floods.
Well, I'll jump in and I would say that I have a formula. It's called S over S equals F. It is stuff over skills equals failure. I know that for a lot of people who enter into this type of lifestyle, being prepared, living the life of a quote unquote prepper, they are motivated by fear, because there's a lot of fear mongering out there. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube and Instagram and the Facebooks and all of the things, and people freak out without digging into more information. And when they make the decision to start living this lifestyle, they go out and they spend butt tons of money on a bunch of gear and a bunch of things, and then they set it aside and they say, I'm ready for the war. Well, they don't learn how to do anything with it. They don't learn how to do the stuff that you need to know. They don't learn how to properly build a fire, or they don't learn how to defend their property or their stuff. They don't know how to procure and clean water, procure food, and all those things. So stuff over skills will always equal failure. That's the very
I like that
thing.
formula. That's pretty cool. I'm envisioning it in my head like S over S equals F.
Yeah. And I actually thought of it in the way here. I got to jot that down, patent that one.
Yeah, you should.
No, but I mean, it's a common thing. I have fallen trap into, of course, I've been living this lifestyle since basically I was a kid, but I have fallen, for the next shiny object. I have fallen for that, gee whiz knick-knack doodad that I've just got to have. But I have a lifetime of skills that I've learned and practiced. So the stuff that I end up having now is practical. A lot of it is repurposed. A lot of it is made the way I want it to be because, as an individual, I like stuff to be a certain way. And I think a lot of people think that one kit fits all, and it just doesn't.
I had that same thing down for my first one was I just put, buying a ton of gear before learning how to use it. Basically, it's the same thing.
That was my first one as well. People focus on gear and not skills. And we've preached on it over and over and over. We've had guests come on, they say the same thing and validate what we're saying. So definitely, focus on that gear, and I'll even add a caveat to that. Spend a lot of money on something that, you're not going out and buying a ham radio, the whole system, spending thousands of dollars on it, and a tower and all this stuff. And then, never get your ham license or, not even learn how to do it. So,
yeah, that's a good point. Like you're saying like, your first year out prepping and you decide to get yourself, you want to get a bushcraft knife because that's what you see on all the videos. Everybody's got a great bushcraft knife. So you go out and you buy a $300 bushcraft knife. Okay, great. Now, you don't know how to use it. That's the first thing. So you're probably going to destroy it. And B, you're probably going to lose it like most of us do when we lose our knives. Don't buy a $300 knife first time out. That's a rookie mistake. Yeah,
I agree. That's definitely, and the thing about knives is you don't really have to have, a $500. Now I do have a few knives that are, more expensive. But my favorite thing to do.
That's because you enjoy knives. That's because you like it. You enjoy it. That's what you decide to spend your money on.
Yeah, and I'll go to Tractor Supply, and and I've mentioned this before. They have those couple tables when you walk in the door, and you can get some pretty good knives for $9-10. $20 is the tops I've ever bought a knife out of there. So, it's just, and then learn how to sharpen the damn thing.
I love those glass cases with all the knives in it. And yes, Jeremy, I did say I meant buddy, so I'll have to cut all that out. But no, I do love those glass. It's funny. There's a place downtown. There's actually like 3 or 4 of them. They're massive. They're called Ozark Land.
Yeah,
you've heard of that before?
Oh, I've been to them.
They have that great ice cream store in the back and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right when you walk in, there's usually like this gigantic, massive glass sort of square thing. It's filled with knives and little gadgets and things like that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, there's one right off of 44, I think, by Springfield, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
It's kind of like I would say it's more like a tourist kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But they franchise them. So like downtown where we go shopping and everything, there's one right there in the middle of town. It looks like a giant red barn. It's massive. It's all built up, and it's got like across the front it says fudge, ice cream, knickknacks, this and that. And you walk in, it's very busy with stuff everywhere, T-shirts, this and that, everything that you would think of for, like a tourist place. And then they've got, ice cream in the back. They got candy, fudge, like a fudge making thing in the back and all that kind of stuff. And a little area you can sit and eat in at least the one that we go to. I haven't been this year, but they're pretty fun. I like them.
Yeah. There's a bass tracker over there too, I think. Or at least it used to be. I don't know. It's been a couple years since I've been there. So
yeah, I digress, which I did.
Easy to do on this show.
Mm-hmm. I had down, and mine were not any type of an order. I was just jotting on the top of my brain. One of the rookie mistakes I made back in the beginning was, of course, the gear thing, number one. But I also started stockpiling food. I did the whole 5-gallon buckets, Mylar bags, which, by the way, is awesome. Do it. Don't only do it, but, definitely do it. But I did the whole thing where, you got your 5-gallon buckets, and this one's got the rice, this one's got the beans, and so on and so forth. And I forgot completely back in those days. I forgot completely about water. I just wasn't thinking. I just was like, food. You need water more than you need food. So that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that we talked about that on the prepper pantry the other night. So
yeah. I think a lot of people do that because
did we? I think I slept through that whole episode.
Maybe.
I think we went off the rails a little bit here and there, but I think a lot of people, for some reason, think about food more than water because food is easier than water. Like they don't. I think that a lot of people believe that they're gonna be able to find water no matter what, but they're not going to be able to find food. And
if you're savvy and you're trained, and like what the buddy always says, your area study and know your stuff. Yeah, especially if you're military trained, you probably have been taught how to find clean or whatever water, that sort of thing. But you're absolutely right. The very first thing you're thinking of is that comfort. It's like, I don't want to miss candy bars. I don't want to miss peanut butter. I'm going to get lots and lots of peanut butter. It's like, you're right. Yeah.
And here's how easy it is to go out and do, an area study for water or that portion of it. Just go on and do a Google, aerial map of your area and just look at all the water features out there. And then you want to not just stick with your map because it could be a year old and that might not be there. Then go and drive and see what's around it. Make sure that, there's not a farmhouse that was covered in trees that you didn't see in that aerial map.
Go do the same thing. Get on Google Maps or Google Earth, one or the other. Use your satellite view of your neighborhood, your area, and just jot down or map out all of the swimming pools. Those are all sources of water, every single one of them.
Yeah, swimming pools, ponds, a lot of, at least where I live, it's the thing to do and there's a lot of building going on. So there's, housing additions going up left and right. Well, there's always, we've talked about it also, we've talked about this in, former episodes and stuff, but there's drainage ditches and they make ponds out of them. And they make recreational ponds out of the drainage ditch, and everything flows to a certain area to where, and sometimes they'll stockpile, fish in it. They'll stick, pavilions out there so you can have, picnics and stuff. So that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, that's part of civil engineering. They have to. Cities are always concerned, at least that department is always concerned about where the water is going to go, because you're not thinking about it on a dry day or a sunny day. You're thinking about it on days where you've got torrential downpour and stuff starts to flood. So you're right. They've got these areas where they, I think I mentioned the very last project that I worked on, huge building place, it was going in right in an area where they had what you're talking about, a drainage area. So our company actually had to build the cistern underneath the ground underneath the buildings. So we had to actually build where the water reservoir is going to go first because it was there, and then build the buildings on top of it. And you would never know that it's under your feet. 10 feet under your feet is a massive, thousands and thousands of probably 300,000 or 400,000 gallons of water area underneath your feet.
Yeah, and then another thing to do is go out there and Google the water table in your area. You might be able to dig down 20 feet and hit water. Growing up, we had certain areas on the farm where we're digging corner posts, and they go a little further down, they're a little thicker, and you get down about 8-10 feet, we're hitting water. It's crazy.
Yeah, the corner posts got to be pretty deep.
We put them down 10 to 12 depending on what size we have, if we're using telephone poles or whatever. But you can hit water sometimes that way too, so that don't sleep on that. And then if you can find somebody who's a witcher, be their friend, because they can
dowsing,
yeah, we call them witchers here.
Yeah.
And they take the dowsing rods and go out and find water and stuff. So it's literally under your feet in most places. So
yeah, you don't have to dig far around here to hit water.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, in an SHTF type of a situation, your neighborhood, you might have houses that have pools, or you might have subdivisions that have pools, or you might have apartments that have pools, or city pools. Not only are these are basically cisterns for water, but they also have every one of them across the board guaranteed to have some sort of a closet or control area where all of the filtration is. So you've got filtration equipment, you've got chemicals, you've got chlorine, you've got acids, you got stuff like that you can use to also filter water. We're talking about in a Tiahuaki, no rule of law, everything has gone to shit kind of a situation. These are very expensive pieces of equipment that you can actually use or take and use and claim them to be yours and actually run them and clean your water systems.
Yeah, it's and I mean, fill your bathtubs up if something's coming your way. Just as a precautionary, precautionary thing. They make blivets. You can
the bladders,
the big bladders, you can fill up. Temporarily. Maybe stick it in your garage or in a room somewhere and fill them up, and have 10, 20, 30 gallons of water in there. Just make sure you don't bust it. You're gonna have to get some new carpet, but. Those bladders is best if you just keep them right in the tub. Yeah.
Fill them up. You got some major storms coming through that they're worried about, which is great. This time of year is, it's happening. But, you fill those suckers up, throw a couple tablets in it, close it off and seal it. You're done. End of the storm comes, no more worries about it. Just empty it out, dry it out and then restore it.
Yeah. And everybody focuses on water purification. I'm going to have to use a Grail water purifier.
You might, though, in a long-term SHTF situation. Yeah.
You need those skills.
You need the skills, yeah.
Before that, you need to know where the water is. I mean,
true.
To me, it's common sense, but common sense isn't common anymore. So
yeah, do some fun stuff and buy a little, $25 still off of Amazon and learn how to distill your own water. Just do some fun stuff like that. So at least you're in the know. My entire life, I've never really been a small engine mechanic. I've tinkered here and there and this and that, but I have been working nonstop. Crazy lengths of hours on these mowers that I've got here with all kinds of problems. And I'm thought about it this morning. Little by little, I'm feeling more and more confident about getting my hands into engines and working on stuff. Now I can recite, temperatures and specific types of torque, requirements and things like that now that I never could before. I know what certain things are that I didn't know last year.
Okay.
It's the same thing with your experiences with water purification or really any kind of skill.
Yeah, and just layer it. Make sure you have many different ways of doing it. And it's a whole nother episode. And we're going to have one coming up, but water's important. Food is important.
Well, my next one was preparing for the wrong thing. And... it's easy to say, I am preparing for the zombies. I am preparing for the communist horde. I am preparing for aliens. I am preparing for the most wazoo.
The Chinese.
The Chinese. But in reality,
China.
What a lot of people do is they ignore the local threat. They ignore the long-term power outage, the storms. You know, I live here on the Eastern Coast, and a lot of people that do live this lifestyle, they're like, man, I'm just ready. You know, if anybody comes down my driveway, I'm going to light them up. That's awesome. That's really cool. But you lost your job. What are you going to do about that part? Like, you lost your main source of income, and you're still healthy enough to work. So what are you going to do now? You know, you're
describing the difference between a doomsday prepper and a prepper survivalist, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's an easy trap to fall into, especially, and as much as I think that show had its nuance, you know, the Doomsday Prepper show or whatever it was, it painted us to be absolute weirdos. It really did.
We kind of are, though.
I mean, that's true. You are, but
I still love thinking about it and prepping for it, and, you know, considering different type of scenarios that would fall into that whole genre all the time. But but like you just said, the reality, though, is losing your job, not having it. You know, that's the reality of prepping.
Yeah. So that was my next one.
What he spoke about was that importance of an area study again. Keep harping that point, but you know, that's another point on your area study. And you know, people do plan for, you know, the big event and not the most likely event. My area, it's definitely the weather over everything. And then, you know, then we can worry about the Chi-Coms and the zombie apocalypse and the communist hordes and stuff like that. So,
and Pinko commies.
The hybrid Russian Chinese aliens.
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, man. That'd be like 8 foot long necks with very short arms and thick legs. It's
carrying AKs.
Really weird look.
Yeah, I don't want to meet them.
It's more about the area study there. That, you know, a lot of these things all coincide with the area study. You know, what's the most likely event in your area? You know. Is it seasonable? What's, you know, when you're coming up to another season, we've done episodes on, okay, winter's coming, we got to prep for it. Spring's coming, we got to prep for it. Summer's, you know, we're always in a tornado season in Oklahoma. Jeremy, you have
pretty much
hurricane season there. Looks like you guys got some flooding there in Missouri, Keith. And and so it's. What's the most likely thing that happens, the thing you need to prepare for? And, you know, as a secondary, I would say, and you're going to do your own things, and we know that, but I would say to be smart about it and stick with that most likely thing. And then the secondary thing, okay, then go buy your ammo for the, you know, the Chi-Com Pinko Kami horde that's going to come and steal your Licky Chewies from your storage.
And by preparing, you know, for, let's just say, one of the big things here on the East Coast, like you said, is hurricanes. And preparing for hurricanes, kind of like we learned in Helene and other storms, especially like, say, for instance, the one down in Louisiana years ago, Katrina,
yeah.
Some of the stuff that you would prepare for, you know, thinking about the quote unquote zombie horde, might be a second or third order effect of preparing for the most likely scenario. Like, for instance, when I was up at Helene and we were out there doing search and recovery for a family that was swept away in a house, we essentially knew before we even started that we were not going to find their bodies. We had a pretty good idea of where they were, but in talking with the family who still had hope, they told us that there was a small outbuilding that, and I don't know why they did this, but they stored their guns in this little outbuilding. And after the storm, somebody broke in and stole all the guns, which prompted us to go into this search and recovery operation fully armed and kitted up.
That's just going to Appalachia, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you got to think, as soon as you go just a little, if you go further west of where I am right now and just start heading north, you're in Appalachian. And it's interesting because when we got up there, it was very, very mountainous up there. And I started thinking to myself, if I had all of this stuff with me when that horde of people started walking up the road, I would have felt a whole lot better about the situation that we were in. Because I was the only one with a gun. I was the only one who knew how to use a gun. And there were thousands of people wandering the road trying to find cell signal, and they ended up right in front of the hotel that we were stuck in. So by preparing for, and Helene might be the exception because that wasn't supposed to happen, but by preparing for the primary threat in your area, when let's just say that is hurricanes, thinking about the second and third order effects of that, you might still be preparing for some of those other, kind of not as likely nuances. So, yeah.
Well, and he talks about the area studies a lot. I never even knew what area study was until Buddy started talking about them. But I say that. But I remember I traveled a lot for my company, going from city to city, living there for a while, moving on to another city doing construction. And I could tell you the very first thing we do whenever I got to a city and new place was map it out, start driving around, seeing where things go, learning where the roads go. It's kind of like a fun outing, really, just to kind of see, oh, look, there's a pizza place right over there, or, there's the car wash, there's the hospital, that sort of thing. Technically kind of doing an area study, live right there. That's what we would do. So yeah, great idea.
Yeah. And militarily, we call that a route reconnaissance. A lot of people, when they hear that word, they think that you're just looking at a map and just, figuring out your route. And then, that's how you're figuring out what you're doing. But a route reconnaissance is so much more than that, because you're figuring out the terrain, you're figuring out how the terrain flows, how you can go to certain places, what places may hold danger,
where the potholes are.
Yeah, basically.
Choke points, bridges. You're looking at, what each bridge can take as far as weight goes.
Yeah.
For rolling larger equipment in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, Helene, when I was there, we did that exact same thing, just by proxy. They knew I had reconnaissance stuff. And they go, hey, can you do a route recon on this area? And so we flew a drone up and flew alongside, and we had driven up this road, and then we flew the drone in after the fact, rookie mistake. And there was the river, the Nolichucky had undercut that road to where I'm surprised we didn't cave it in and go down into the river. So, we're kind of getting in the weeds.
Good to know.
But yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, that reconnaissance is paramount.
Yeah.
At least in my world.
Yeah. Yeah. Keith, what else you got?
One of the mistakes I made early on, I would say it's probably first, maybe second year, but first or second year-ish, was I storing some food. I improperly stored food, and I got major pest infestation. And I'm not even remembering. It was so long ago. I can't remember now if it was bugs or if it was mice. I want to say it might have been mice, and did not store it properly, just sort of stockpiled it. And going from, back in those days, I was kind of moving from apartment to apartment and that sort of thing. And I remember, putting it all in cardboard, boxes and moving and getting to the next place and setting it up. And, after a while, you're just keeping it in cardboard boxes and you're not remembering stuff. And then next thing you know, it's all ate. It's gone. It's destroyed. And that was a pretty big rookie mistake, because you spend a lot of time, not all at once, but you spend a lot of time, little at a time, a little bit of money at a time, building up these food supplies, and to not store them right and then ruin them. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, that does suck.
It's a lesson learned.
I have had some MREs, and this was quite some time ago. And I had them sitting in the garage, and I had them up off of the cement, but they got put in there during the cooler weather, and I kind of forgot about them. And I was getting ready to go do a contract, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if they're going to be able to give us any, so I'm going to grab a couple. And started getting in there, and there was a family of critters in there, and they had eaten into the box and then eaten into almost every single bag. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was mice, or something along those lines. I don't think we have rats, but we definitely have mice. And yeah, they got their way in there, and I was like, oh, well, that's going into the fire pit. I'm pretty sure there was some mice in there when I tossed it in the fire pit, but I just burned it all, plastic and everything. I was so angry. Yeah. But, and a lot of people, they don't think about stuff like that. I didn't think about that, kind of thing at the time because it was cold. I didn't think about the fact that mice like to come indoors when it's super duper hot or when it's cold. And that was just sitting there. Their rodents in general never stop chewing. They're always chewing on something. So in order to prevent themselves from grinding their teeth down completely, they find stuff to chew. And so they like cardboard. They found their way into the cardboard. They found their way into the plastic, and they were like, oh, something's in here. And they just kept going. And it was pretty bad.
My prepper brothers and sisters, we'd like to remind you that the Tops Bunker podcast now has its own YouTube channel where you can listen to all our episodes and watch some videos as well. We have live events planned for this summer and giveaways, so don't miss out. Please stop by the new channel and subscribe. We need those subscriptions and appreciate your support. YouTube.com/Tops Bunker Podcast. Hit the subscribe button and comment as much as you like. Now, back to the show.
I would say another big one that a lot of people don't think about, especially when it comes to a long-term scenario, is sanitation. And I'm not 100% sure why people don't think about that.
Talking about stockpiling teepee? What are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, more than just that. So, long-term scenario, everybody talks about the power outage, or if the grid goes down and that kind of thing, and you lose water pressure. Well, there's this, what I personally believe is a little bit of misinformation. People think that water is going to continue to flow for at least a few hours. And I don't think that that's actually accurate. I think that water is going to stop flowing within a matter of less than 30 minutes. So when you lose your power and you lose your pressure, you can't flush the toilet normally. So what you can do is what we call pressure flush, where you put water into the bowl of the toilet to force it down. Some of them still will do that without the pump. But a lot of people don't really think about the fact that if there is a no kidding situation going on outside, you still got to take a crap. What are you going to do with it? You're just going to go in your living room and find a spot and take a dump? They don't know how to dig a slit trench. They don't know how to flush the toilet afterwards. They don't know how to set up a bucket toilet, and setting up a bucket toilet is super simple. It's literally a big bucket with a toilet seat, a contractor bag, and some kitty litter. That's literally all you have to do. And then once it gets to a point where you need to get rid of it, you bag it up again and you take it out and you get rid of it. So sanitation is a really big one.
We have two. It's still in boxes, still all sealed up. Not even the bucket parts, just the lids with the paper and the chemicals and all that kind of stuff ready to go. All you do is find a 5-gallon bucket, which are freaking everywhere. We've got dozens upon dozens, here at the property. But yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And what you're talking about with water is, you said that, once you get into an SHTF situation or a grid down situation, that you think the water is what did you mean by that? Like the water would end quickly?
So, you know, when there is a large outage, right? And let's say the local water system, they're typically have backup generators, but when the power goes out on those stations and the stations lose pressure, the pressure is only going to continue to push fresh water into your home for a very, very short amount of time. And then
okay, yeah. So to clarify, the pumping stations pump the water into water towers, not to your homes, into water towers. This is how all places do it. We get every single home that's on city water get your water pressure from the water towers that you see when you're driving around. That's why you see so many water towers. Go on Google and do a screenshot, any type of a screenshot of the tops of buildings in New York City. And what will you see on every single building?
Oh yeah,
every one of them. There are water towers on every single one. Some are old wooden-like ones. Most of them actually are the old wooden ones that are around. They all have them. That's because water that you get comes from the pressure coming out of water towers. And generally, those water towers are filled up by the city water in the middle of the night when times are slower. And they pump the water up into those tanks, and it just sits up there. But that weight of all that water up inside that tank coming down through those pipes, and the pipes get smaller and smaller, obviously, because you can look at a water tower and see that the head pressure is extremely high at the bottom. That's the pressure of the water at the smallest orifice that you can get out of those water towers. And that head pressure is how you get water pressure. And I can tell you right now, you run into a situation where you have the grid goes down and the power is completely out. It is not going to take long before that water pressure diminishes. It's going to slowly, as soon as those water tanks empty out and there's no water going up in them, you're done. And that's just a matter of how many people are using water. That's just what it comes to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, back to the sanitation thing, I don't understand why some people don't learn that aspect of it. I don't know why. I haven't quite figured it out that why. And if you start having this conversation with somebody and you're like, well, hey, what are you going to do about sanitation, after, something big happens, and they equate sanitation to cleanliness. And I'm like, okay, I understand that, but where are you going to go take a crap?
It's an age thing. I think it's an age thing.
Yeah.
It comes with age.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, it's you don't really think about it when you go to the restroom. How many times did you go yesterday? You don't really think about it. You just go and do it. It's not really something. I mean, unless you have to track it for a doctor's appointment or something, you really don't. It's just something that, you're not spending a lot of brain space with it.
If you find yourself being forced to poop outside in the woods, in the forest, behind a building, whatever it is, if you find yourself having to do that because you didn't prep properly, you're going to find out really, really quick how uncomfortable it is to not have stuff to wipe your butt properly.
Yeah, it sucks.
That's what I'm saying is you think in your house, you do your business, you clean up, and you feel, and you're refreshed for the day. You're good. Try that if you have to poop outside somewhere.
Yeah.
An hour later, you're going to stank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or if you're someone like me, I don't have a gallbladder.
Keep the grossness down.
I'm not going to go.
Something happened to you in your past.
Yeah.
That has caused you to have to go total nuclear grossness.
Yeah. I was in the Army for a stupid amount of time. But I don't have a gallbladder anymore. And my gallbladder ruptured many years ago.
Oh.
And I ended up losing, of course, the gallbladder, but they had to remove, I want to say like a foot or a foot and a half of necrotic intestine. So,
it runs through you quick then.
Yeah. So for me, everything is a one-way street. So again, sanitation, it's really important. And, if you are someone kind of like me who does have digestive issues or has, certain things, some people are like, yeah, I only go once a day. And that's wonderful. If you only go once a day, God bless you. If you're someone like me who goes about 6 times a day, then you've got to be prepared for that kind of thing. So
yeah, that's a great episode for us to do, like a field sanitation episode.
Yeah. After you get your butthole checked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like that meme I sent you where they said to the doctor, the entrance of my butthole always hurts. And he says, well, you stop calling it an entrance. It'll stop hurting.
Yeah. Fix the traffic pattern. Pain might go away. I've got one more. And that is becoming addicted to prepping. So a lot of people, they get into this thing and it is fun. It is exciting. It can be a really neat passion, to live this lifestyle. But if you dive eyeballs first into this thing, it's easy to become hooked on it. I know people who live this lifestyle 24/7. Like you can't even just run into them randomly in a store or whatever and have just casual conversation. It just always goes back to the same thing. I know a guy who, I don't know what exactly happened to him in his past, but he used to work out at the sniper school. And for some reason, every time we would get to chatting, especially if we were anywhere near grass or the woods, he would immediately take a knee. And I'm like, bro, it's not like that right now, man. I'm doing burgers out here. Why are you taking a knee right now? Like it's
I'm confused. What did I miss?
That's some indoctrination there, man.
That is. And Buddy probably knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And when you go to certain schools, when you live the military lifestyle, especially like Buddy and I have, and you learn certain aspects about combat, when you're out and exposed, it's kind of like instinctual to lower your posture and find cover and concealment.
Lower that profile.
It's just,
now I know what you're saying. Sure. Yeah.
Broken in our minds. I'll just put it that way.
Oh, it's the stuff that kept us alive in combat kills us in the civilian world. So.
Yeah, it really does. Like I am 100% convinced that if I went to go, like I've got this job interview tomorrow, if it was just with normal people, they'd be like, bro, there is something wrong with you. But thank goodness it's mostly military people.
Yeah.
But being hooked on this lifestyle, this thing of prepping, it can happen. And, you got the person out there who's like, man, you know what? I could really use another bug out bag. And they go shopping for the most ridiculous thing and they love it. Like they get off on it. But the thing is you're living an anxious life. You're living a lifestyle waiting to be able to use this stuff that you have stashed and these, use these skills that you learn. And that's great. But there's more of a likelihood that there's going to be like a tree down in your yard and kills your power, or there's going to be a big storm and you're going to get, your whatever is going to get hit by lightning and kill the power. There might be, localized flooding, that kind of thing. But they're always in anticipation of this crazy thing that may or may not happen. Now, I totally understand it and I get it. And I also, I have some of those concerns, but I'm not going to let it rule my life. Like if I get to the point where I really feel like the war, quote unquote, is about to start. Okay. I might keep an extra eyeball open here and there, but I am not so into this thing that I can't enjoy the rest of my life. If that makes sense.
I get exactly what you're saying. And I know a guy used to be a friend of mine years ago. And he's a prepper and he's an ex-Marine and went through some hard stuff. And I spoke about it before, and he wakes up every day hoping that this is going to be the day. It's gone further than than what you're saying. It's gone to the point where he's like, when's it going to happen? When can we start doing all this? When can I use all these skills? And that can actually become
mental illness, maybe
mental illness for sure, but it can become contagious to other people.
Yeah.
Like I felt it rubbing off on me. Like, yeah, I'm prepped too. I'm ready to go too. I started feeling that sort of the same thing. And very quickly in my brain, luckily, it changed to hell no. I don't want this to ever happen. I don't want to ever have to, scrounge and survive. I don't want to do that. I want to thrive. That's a whole different ball game. It is very, very, I think a lot of the doomsday prepper people that you saw on those shows years ago, I think a lot of them were, pushed and produced and coerced and directed to be a little more crazy than they were. But there were a few on there that were really over the top, and their brain had clicked to that other side.
Yeah. I mean, if I was rich enough, would I have a large family compound set up for defense, potentially offense, mass food production, total independence from the system? Yeah, absolutely. I would. I absolutely would. If I had the right amount of money, I would have a bunker, and it would be like fucking cool as hell. But I don't have that kind of money, and most of us don't have that kind of money. And to be honest, I as much as I do live this lifestyle, which I do, I don't want it to control my life or my actions, I don't know. It's just in that kind of addiction can lead to, and we've called it analysis paralysis, prepper paralysis. It can lead to that because you're like, all right, today's the day. Well, it's freaking Tuesday. Today wasn't the day. It's like, and then you're thinking, okay, today's the day, and it wasn't today. And then you just keep going through that, and you're like, well, if it's never going to be the day, screw this. I'm done. And you've got this mountain of stuff. Like if you go on Facebook Marketplace, and you would be shocked at how much, freeze-dried food and all these things that preppers are always looking for is on Facebook Marketplace, because somebody bought it thinking that something was going to happen, and it never did. You can always find stuff there.
That's very true. Yeah, that's a good point. What else you got, buddy?
All right. Well, kind of what you were saying a minute ago, but I'll give a caveat to it. You need to take inventory of your stuff. You need to know what you have, and you spoke to that. But also, I think it might not be a rookie mistake, but looking at it by a predator standpoint, putting all your eggs in one basket, storing all your stuff in one place might be a little bit of a mistake. I've talked about caches before. I like to place things in different areas, different places to, like I have buckets of food at different places. Hey, I have family that I just
awesome.
Give it to them and say, hey, hold on to this for me. I might need it one day. And they're like, what is it? Just stick it in the closet, but let me know where it is, kind of thing. So I think putting everything in one place is a mistake. Watch your storage, definitely. One of the things Jeremy mentioned a while back on an episode was to make sure you have your documents, your important documents, in like a fireproof safe and accessible to where you can use it, because you might have to prove who you are one day. If it gets really shitty around here, just to prove you're a U.S. citizen, even though you can habla the inglés. And you don't have your dog tags tattooed on your body. You might have to actually prove who you are. Now, I know somebody very close to me that has those we call them blood tags, and has got arrested, and that's how they, they're like, how do I know that's you? And the person said, well, who's going to be dumb enough to put somebody else's dog tags on their body? So I digress again, but have your documents where you can get to them, because you might have to prove certain things. You might have to prove that you live there. If one of the things I did with some tornadoes that I worked in college when I was in the National Guard, tornadoes that came through these different areas, if you didn't have an address, a license with your address on it in a certain area, you wasn't getting into it. If you're, even though you did live there, but you didn't change your license, you used to live in Oklahoma City, and this one said Tulsa, but you're trying to get into an Oklahoma City address, it's not going to work. So have those documents. You might need them. I guarantee you'll need something, but keep your documents where you can get them. A very important thing, I think, and I looked at this and I was like, man, this is probably one of the most important factors there. You got to keep your family into the loop of all this. If you have a family member not bought into the whole thing, it's only going to work against you. I met a lady who was a closet prepper. Her husband was like, "Oh, that'll never happen. You're wacky. You ought to go on those TV shows, with all the doomsday guys and stuff." And she would sneak out to meetings of networking with people and stuff. Met her in an area study class. Actually, she was doing her stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a big one, because I even have on here on mine, because I was thinking about some of the things that I did, and one of the things for me was telling too many people, like telling everybody, and then also telling nobody. Both of those can become those both are extremes that you should stay away from. You really do need to tell other people that that are close in your network, in your circle, like what you're saying, your family. Of what it is you're doing. Number one, because you want to include them. That's all part of it. But you also want them to know, where the stuff is in case you're not there, or how to use it and that sort of thing. Be trained up on it. And then, of course, the other thing is telling everybody. That's also a problem,
Yeah. And you got to pick and choose your battles. And it's worked for me and it's worked against me. In conversations I've had with people, and I'll bring it up, and people know I prep and stuff, and it's kind of a joke for some people, but every once in a while they'll ask a question. Hey, you got all the medical stuff that we need in case it goes, this shit goes down. It's like, well, I might. What do you have? So and that's goes to the a segue into what I was next to talk about is you got to learn some medical stuff. If you have a bucket of Band-Aids, that's not going to stop a sucking chest wound. Well, if you have enough Band-Aids, it might stop the sucking chest wound. But if you get your arm sawed off or leg sawed off, a bunch of Band-Aids aren't going to cut it. So and that goes back to what we talk about all the time is training. Make sure you get the training that you need, and medical training, find a nice stop the bleed class as a minimum. Next year I'm going out, and I'm going to be traveling the United States teaching, and I'll put the dates up there, and we'll make sure we get a Tops Bunker discount. And if you want me to come to your area and teach, hit me up on the instant message on Facebook, and we can make that happen. All I need is a place, and we can come up with the details. But so go out and get the training you need for all the stuff. One of the big things, and we preach on this all the time, neglect your physical fitness and your mental resilience. Okay. I'm not even going to beat that dead horse about the 500-pound rucksack that you can't carry, Go out there, and it's as simple as going and walking. It's extremely hot right now where I'm at. So I don't do good with the heat. So I have to go out every day for an hour or two, get in the heat and get used to it, because it damn near killed me, last week when the power went out, inside it's getting up to the 90s, and, my body's just not, I'm old, and I've had some heat injuries, and, I can't handle it like I used to. So go out and acclimatize yourself to things, and especially the weather. Let's see, go out and work out too, man. You gotta be able to do the things. And it's it's almost as simple as, can you climb a fence right now? Can you go over a stockade fence? Can you climb through a barbed wire fence? You know, these are things people don't think about. But can you do these things? Can you bend over and, you know, come off the prone position firing, since you're such a ninja, you know, Navy SEAL ninja, that you've been.
I am in my mind.
In your mind, you trained this scenario that, you know, can you actually get the hell off the deck and get up and bound, do a 3-second rush and get back in position again and shoot? Can you do that 5 or 6 times? Can you run from cover to cover? So these are the things you need to start thinking about. It's not about,
no, you know what? I'll add to that, because Rhonda and I did some shooting this weekend with our ARs and our rifles, and we did just some target shooting, you know, standing up, not like a bench style, but, you know, walking around, moving and shooting. And damn, that's a workout. I forgot how much of a workout that is compared to sitting on a bench and shooting.
Yeah,
it's a big work. Just holding the gun steady, you know, and trying to get your shot placement. It's hard, man.
Yeah,
you got to practice that stuff.
Well,
they make it look really easy on movies.
Now,
it's
next
a total.
time,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, next time, try that on the move. You know, while walking, and then find cover and concealment, and do that in a successive bounding motion.
Yeah, I was trying a few, because I got trees and stuff like that, and I was trying some of that, and I ended up more often times than not just leaning up against a tree because I was tired. I was like, because we were on a hill too, but still, it was rough. You know, it's funny because we were watching, before we went to bed last night, we watched this really cool thing on Machu Picchu and that sort of stuff, and you see these. It's a lot of climbing. You got to walk a lot of steps up at these mountains and stuff, and you see all these people, they go 10, 15 feet and then they stop. 10, 15, 20 feet, then they stop. And I remember a time when I would have made fun of those people. This is no longer that time.
Yeah, you need to stress test yourself.
We both looked at each other like, we would love to go to Machu, but hell no. We're not going to be able to climb up that mountain.
I've done it, man, in Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah,
you've done
and it wasn't that big. I've climbed
you're on the pyramids.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean,
yeah,
it was
I can imagine.
It was hot. Man, I was just wasn't into it. You know,
and they didn't make those pyramids for comfort. They made them for chopping people's heads off. Those steps are not like normal steps.
And then there were little people. So how the hell did they get up there? Did they have an elevator? You know, I have so many questions.
My last time in Korea, you know, I'm not that tall, but I was in extremely good shape, and all I did was hiking and long distance running. And I'm out there one day, I probably got, I don't know, I had about 35 or 40 pounds on my back, and I felt like I was trucking. And I got passed by a woman who had to be in her 80s, and she was hauling all of her goods to sell up a mountain. Like,
that's because she lives it every day
on her back and her head.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I am weak. I am pathetic. And then I had to remind myself, I'm like, these are like short little mountain people. You know, this has been their lifestyle now for
right.
You know, thousands of years. Some of the mountains that I actually climbed and then found, you know, these remote Buddhist temples. And we started coming down. We found this like a series of steps, and started doing some research on them. Those steps were laid there by the original Buddhist monks that went up to build these temples like 1,000 years ago. And we were we were going along, and I'm like, whose fucking legs are this short? I mean, I've got short little legs, but man. And they carried the stones up this mountain. Like, they walked them up there. And I'm thinking I'm strong. I definitely did not feel strong after that. Yeah, I was feeling pretty pathetic about myself.
They had that mental resilience that I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
You can, have a physical, but you also need a mental. So,
well, that's definitely a rookie mistake you want to pay attention to is your fitness. It's something that I'm in a bind right now with, but I'm no longer a rookie. But still, that's something I'm in a bind with right now. It's something you should always really be thinking about.
It's a continuous thing, though. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Buddy, take us out.
All right. Well, a few other things. These are maybe more advanced than just the basic stuff, but you need to go out there and network with people. Find people like-minded like you to chart, to maybe trade with, or just to have your back. That's something you need to look into, and don't hesitate to ask people. Rookie mistake is no barter items. If you don't have anything to trade, you might be in trouble. Somebody might just take something from you. And then mentioned earlier, don't go out and max credit cards out buying all this shit. Buy it slowly. Take it slow. Keep it in your confines of your budget, and have fun with it. Don't make it a mental illness or a chore. Make it fun. Make it something that you are preparing for your future, your family's future, and just be prepared.
My prepper brothers and sisters, if you have an idea for a show topic or would like to be on the show as our guest, email shtf@topsbunker.com, website topsbunker.com, YouTube Tops Bunker Podcast channel, and SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/tops. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and remember, stay prepped, stay happy. Thanks for listening, and good night.